What's going on, guys? So today I just want to make a quick video to talk about my experience with the AR5 transmission that I'm running a FabBot LS adapter with. I was talking to Matt a little bit about making this video, and I just kind of wanted to hopefully answer some questions. I ran this transmission all this season. I love the thing. I haven't had any huge issues with it. It has been working flawlessly. I can tell you the couple little things that I didn't like about it. Here, we'll get to that in a few. I'll add some photos in, kind of in this video, showing it made it up to my setup, what I did for a trans cross member, things like that. I also made an install video that's on my personal account, my old YouTube account, you'd say. I'll put that in at the end of this video just because it's a minute long. They making a bunch of noise. I'm gonna shut the door quick. Anyway, door's shut now, so we don't gotta listen to Brian Weld and grinding all day. Anyway, yeah. So I'll just pretty much get into it. The AR5 transmission is found in Chevy Colorado's GMC Canyons, Saturn Sky, Pontiac Solstice, and then the Slingshot, Polaris Slingshot. That's the transmission I'm using. I'll show a picture here of why I'm using that here in a few. Essentially, that transmission ended up working out perfectly with the shifter hole in my car. So if I recall this correctly, from flange of bell housing to center shifter position, Colorado's 24 inches. So from essentially the back of your block to the shifter position, you're looking at 24 inches for that. The Slingshot is right in the middle at 29 inches. And then the Solstice and Saturn Sky one is a rear mounted shifter at 36 inches. If you want to run this transmission in your car, is get your motor sitting in the chassis. You're going to have to measure from your bell housing or from the back of your block to the shifter position in your car. And Matt told me he gets a lot of questions wondering will this fit this? Will this fit this? You really can't with a swap chassis, you have to expect to put in some work in the swap. Not everything is gonna fit like factory. If you're putting a swapped engine in your car, you can't expect everything to fit perfectly or you're gonna have a real bad time. But other than that, it's really easy to get the measurement. You gotta get your motor in. So if you've bought your mounts already, you're better off going that way. Otherwise, you can roughly estimate where you want it to sit. It's not too hard to set a block in your car and kind of set it on 2x4s and stuff, figure out where it's going to be sitting. You might have to modify your trans tunnel a little bit. I'll quick show you, this is where my shifter ended up for the E36. This is why I recommend a Slingshot transmission for the E36, because you can see it's perfect fitment. You really cannot get it any more center for a swap transmission. I'm using CX Racing mounts in my car too, so some mounts might differ slightly, but shouldn't be too far off. So yeah, you can see that fits perfectly on the the factory shifter hole. Now I was running an eBay shift knob adapter on my car, which was they have them just Slingshot shift knob adapter on eBay. You just look it up. I'll add the link in for that. That uses a 10x1.5 Honda shift knob, which is handy because the shift pattern on these transmissions is the same as an H pattern Honda, just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the reverse all the way over and back to the right. The gear ratios are online. I can see if I can link those. Otherwise, it's very easy to find them. They're on Wiki and seems to be accurate from what I've read. I'm running a 391 rear in my car, and with this transmission, the thing rips really good. With the 391, this transmission, I'm sitting at 2,800 to 3,000, going about 75 on the highway. So the gearing isn't too bad. You can obviously change diffs around a little bit here and there. Whatever you need to do to have your setup work better. As far as clutches go for this transmission, I was doing some research into what clutch to get, because I've heard LS7 clutches are great, good pedal feel, but also really strong. So if you look up like a 98 to 01 Camaro, you can get a clutch out of one of those. It's going to be the HD version is an LS7 clutch. So it's stronger. Rock Auto has a full kit. I think it's like $232. I can see if I can find the part number. I'll put that in the comments. It's a flywheel, clutch, pressure plate, and the throwout bearing, pilot bearing, everything you need for like $232. All you got to do is reuse your factory slave cylinder from the Colorado or on the Slingshot. I'm not sure what slave actually comes in the Slingshot. I believe it'd work. But I just converted like an F body, or a Colorado slave is cheap. Like they're like another $40 on Rock Auto. Very easy. You pretty much just click everything together. Like it's factory stuff. The input shafts are 26 spline, output is 27 spline. So you use like a 4L60 yoke for the Colorado trans, because that trans uses a slip yoke. Slingshot and Solstice use a fixed yoke. The fixed yokes are, like in the speed world, like weaker, I suppose you'd say. Matt makes a 1350 U-joint adapter for these. So he makes like a super nice billet flange. I'll see if I have a picture of it. It's a Spicer part that bolts to this billet flange. The billet flange bolts to the transmission. Uses a 1350 U-joint, so I have like a super strong drive shaft in my car. Don't have to worry about U-joints breaking. You're gonna break other shit well before you break one of these U-joints. This season broke 2 axles in my car, thinking it was the transmission. Like I just counted, like you read online, everyone's like, oh man, there's no way it'll take any horsepower or whatever. Like, no, like I broke 2 axles. I'm at 400 wheel and 385 foot-pounds of torque, and the car like had no problems with the trans. The one thing that I did notice is when you're like hot lapping, like drifting, we were running night drifting, so we were drifting for like an hour straight, just back to back to back to back. The transmission does get hot. I think that can contribute to failure over time, definitely. So you can't expect this transmission to hold everything you throw at it. I would say it's as strong as a stock T56 from like comparisons I've heard. This transmission is very affordable. Like Colorado ones are $100, $150 all day long at your local junkyard. I paid like $225 for mine shipped from Kentucky with low miles on it, which I didn't end up using. So when I was originally talking to Matt, like I got super excited about this because like I didn't know how I was gonna buy a T56. You're like, no one wants to pay $2,000 for a 20-year-old transmission that's like really not that great. Like, yeah, it's a 6-speed against a 5-speed, but like that doesn't mean too much. You can play with your rear end gearing, whatever you need to do to like accommodate your setup. His adapter kit comes in around $400. He makes a super nice like powder coated bell housing with the bolts already drilled. He machines them flat. Like everything he makes is super baller product. And it's very well priced. You can get them through MAP here where I'm at, MA Performance, or you can get them directly from Matt at FabBot Fab. He helped me find one of these Slingshot transmissions, which they are, like, to be fair, a little more expensive than a Colorado trans, but for my setup, like, it was the most justifiable, like, in terms of fit up and everything. The transmission mount was kind of goofy, so it's similar to an R154. Like, this is like the new age R154 transmission that use like an R154 trans mount. It's like a V mount, and it has like a bushing, and then it has a bolt at the bottom, or a stud at the bottom. I actually cut those mounts and made it work with my Turbo 400 trans mount, or T56 cross member, which was a little iffy. Right now, I think that it's actually still sitting too high in the car. That's the only issue I'm having with it, is the drive shaft angle is a bit high, so it does shake a bit once you get like super high wheel speed. I guess one thing that I often see on the FabBot like Facebook page is people say, yeah, I broke third gear. It's a $150 transmission. One thing that I have noticed with those statements is that you're trying to move a 3,500 to 4,500 pound pickup truck with 700 foot-pounds of torque. Like, you can't expect this transmission to hold 700 foot-pounds forever. I think if you're nice to it, it's definitely going to hold up for a long time. Like I say, 6 months on mine of, beating it. I put 11,000 miles on my car this summer. Just ripping everywhere, burnouts, clutch kicks, everything. Had no problems with the thing. And I did just confirm, I checked my notes. So Solstice transmission is 35 inches from shifter to bell housing. So, yeah, you can go from 2 feet up to 3 feet in shifter length. I know there is a company that makes, I forget the name of it, but they make a extension for the Colorado Trans. The only issue is like the Colorado Trans is pretty tall. Like the shifter stack is much taller than the Slingshot. They kind of like rake back. So you'd have to see about that. I know you can put the Slingshot shifter on a Solstice Trans if you can find a Solstice one easier, or Saturn Sky Trans. That's one difference, but yeah. He makes a baller product. I'll put some pictures up, like super nice machine plate. He includes all the hardware, all the pilot bearing, which you don't necessarily need the pilot bearing. If you buy a clutch kit, it'll come with it. But if you have a clutch kit, it's nice to have a new one. Yeah, aside from that, man, I got nothing but good things to say about it. Temperature control is one thing I'm going to look into next year to see if I can put an external fluid pump and a cooler on it. But at the end of the day, I don't even know if that's worth it, because like it's a budget transmission. Like, it's a cheap trans. It's, fully set up at least half the cost of a T56 and very obtainable. Like, there's so many Colorados in the junkyard. Like, you go anywhere on car-part.com, you can find transmissions for miles. And usually you can find them local. You can pick them up, or you can like get lower mile ones. I don't know if it really matters too much to get lower mile ones. Looks like that the only issue has been the third gear braking in the high torque, high power applications that like Matt's truck and other trucks have been doing. If you guys have any questions, like drop a comment, let me know. I can ask Matt for help answering some of these things. You can always message him, post up, join the FabBot public page, Facebook group. There's tons of people, like everyone posts about their setups, whatever. But yeah, I hope this kind of like helps answer some questions about it. This is a very good budget-friendly option, and like even for drift cars, street cars, whatever it is, like if you want a manual behind your LS, this is the way to go to like get into it. T56s are nice, don't get me wrong. I plan to go to a TR6060 Magnum in my car. I haven't like been able to justify it yet though, because my transmission isn't broken. So I was worried about like an output shaft braking with clutch kicks and stuff, but like, no problems at all. This thing has been stout. But yeah, I'm gonna end this here. I'll put the little install video at the end. If anybody has questions, leave a comment, message me, whatever works. I can answer what I can. What I can't, I will direct you elsewhere if need be. So thanks for watching, guys. Here is the install. It's very straightforward.